Welcome to the rundown from down under. My name is Buddy Pulley, and I am sad. We just got back from a doubleheader weekend at the Charlotte Roval. A weekend that had a lot of promise going in, and after Sunday, I thoroughly can admit that my disappointment was immeasurable and my weekend was ruined, at least on the on-track part. Shane, just getting right into it, won the pole and won practice for both the Cup and Xfinity race, and it looked like it was going to be a very, it looked like all of the expectations were going to be met. But getting into the Xfinity race, Shane did take an early lead in the Xfinity race, and he looked strong. He didn't quite look as dominant as he maybe had at a Portland or Chicago or Sonoma, but he definitely looked like he had a car that when it came down to the end of the race, you put the ball in his court. We'll get to that. That he would he'd be able to make the right moves and win the race. Obviously, he came into the race below the playoff cut line. He was 10 points back coming in, which seemed like it was going to be very obtainable. When the race locks you in, but just Shane, he had the car. And he obviously has the skill set that, they play the right strategy. They could point his way in. They went for stage points in one stage, didn't go for stage points in the second, which is kind of what you do if you're going to try to win the race. It definitely looked like AJ and Sam Mayer were going to give him a run for his money, especially coming down to the end of it. But really, what screwed the pooch, again, it was shaping up to be good. He was closing down on AJ Allmendinger late in the race, and it looked like it was going to be a duel between those two. And Shane was definitely better on the long run, and it was the end of a long run that they were coming to, and it really seemed like it was kind of falling into Shane's hands. He was going to be able to make the necessary moves on AJ and lock his way in. And that caution comes out for, I don't even know the guy's name. Be honest with you, I remember seeing it on the big screen, and my only reaction was, "Who the fuck?" And why the fuck? But caution comes out, and it sets up a strategy call. It's a caution with, we're going to restart with about 9-10 laps to go. Do you pit or do you not pit? And the 97 team all day long had been, frankly, just absolutely bush league on pit road. Just piss poor. I mean, any adjective you want to get in there. They lost spots on pretty much every stop. Which is uncharacteristic. I mean, his pit crew hasn't been terrible all year long. They've been pretty solid. They tend to gain him spots. But for whatever reason, the pressure was on, and they didn't exactly perform. So Shane stays out. This was the wrong call. Unequivocally, 100% the wrong call. It wasn't even, it's the only thing, and I know Shane was also, kind of went along with the call. From Shane's perspective, I understand. You don't want to come down pit road and risk losing a bunch of spots since you have all year long. But also, it's his first year in America doing this full time. It's his first time in an elimination, position. It came down to the crew chief. who made the call to pit, or not pit. And they made the call to win the race. And that was never going to work. The tires had meant too much. There was too much time left in the race. 9 laps to go. That's an eternity around the Roval. And they had run, I feel like 20 laps on those tires. So, I mean, he was at a significant disadvantage, right? And he'd have been, running hard trying to catch AJ. So I can't understand the strategy play. Because you took the best guy in the field, or at least one of the best. I'm going to say the best guy in the field. And I don't understand why you don't put him on offense and let him cook. I don't understand why you don't bring him down pit road. Say he loses 3 spots on pit road and he comes out wherever he was going to come, like he comes out 6th. He still put him in the position to attack, because there's no one better at attacking than Shane van Gisbergen. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And I think he makes it. I think he makes the playoffs. I think he's able to gain the necessary spots, and he's able to push to the breaking point of that race car to get where he needs to be to advance. Doesn't even have to win the race. Winning the race be damned. As much as I wanted Shane to win the race, put the ball in his court. That's all I gotta say. Just put the ball in Shane's court to go out there and do what he does best. And they didn't. I don't know if it was lack of trust in the driver. I don't know if there was alternative motives, judging by who's going to be driving there next year. I think that's a wild conspiracy theory, so don't take that with any weight. It's disappointing. It was very disappointing because he did the best he could on the restart. Got ate up pretty quick by the 48 and the 1, and the 16 hung tough in 4th, and actually was making ground back, and was going to be at least a player for a top 3 finish. And then the caution happened when Parker Kligerman was, that close to the start-finish line. If you want to hear more about the analysis of that whole situation, listen to the Big Motor Small Blade podcast this week. Yeah, and Shane ends up finishing 3rd. Not enough points to make it through to the next round, because Sam Mayer essentially won the race, which was worst case scenario for him. So, yeah. Overall, I mean, we'll do a full season review at the end of the year for Shane, but it's extremely disappointing that he missed the next round. But all in all, for it to be as disastrous as a day as it was, and that was really what it took for him to miss. It wasn't they did everything right short of winning and still miss because they just weren't good enough throughout the rest of the season. No, they did. He did everything in his power. That team did a good job all year long to give him the opportunity to fight to go on to the next round. And it just when the iron was hot, they just couldn't strike. So disappointing. Moving on to the Cup race. Again, Shane takes an early lead over Kyle Larson, and it was a battle on pit road. A lot of times he lost spots on pretty much every stop during the Cup race, which a lot of people were pointing out that, it's the 13 crew. They're not doing this every week. It was the 16 pit crew from what I understand. Essentially, the teams swapped, and Shane got the 16 team, AJ got the 13 team, and there was a whole rigmarole there. And so that was a little frustrating to watch for sure. Shane definitely wasn't as good as the 5, and the 6 arguably not as good as the 16. But I mean, another one of them deals. You keep him in the fight, and no one's better at the end of these things than Shane, or at least he could give Larson a fighting chance, and he just didn't get the opportunity. They had some strategy on top of losing track position on pit road pretty much all day. They had some strategy not exactly go their way, and he ended up having to fight through the pack and then getting spun out by Carson Hocevar late in the going, and he looked like he was going to end up with a sub 20th place finish there. He did have some strategy cautions get right at the end of it. Austin Dillon's wheel fell off because apparently one lug nut is too many to make sure it's tight. But it did benefit Shane. He obviously was able to come down pit road. Him and AJ came down, and they were on the attack the last run of the race and got all the way up from outside the top 10 up to a 6th and 7th place finish. Shane obviously finished 7th. It really came down to them needing a caution. I think unlike the Xfinity race, I think the older tires, even if they got a caution with 10 to go, I think the older tires could have held up better in the Cup race. Just the aero deficiencies you face being back in the pack in the Cup car versus the Xfinity car. But he just needed a caution that never came, and he was going to have to. I think he could have beat the 16, but I think he needed track position on the 5 in order to obviously win the race there. So yeah, overall, just like I said, just a very disappointing weekend. I say very disappointing. Obviously disappointing he missed the playoffs. Disappointing he didn't win the race. He put on a brilliant drive in the Cup race. He had some luck. He had some bad luck. But either way, he came out both races, with good finishes. And that's, that's only good. That's, obviously that's something to build on. Any good finish has to help confidence. So, road course or not, it's still, a top 5 and a top 10. So we'll take that, I guess, and move on to Las Vegas. He's got another doubleheader weekend. In the Xfinity Series, he blew up early in the race in the spring at Vegas, so he has limited track time there. And then the Cup race, he has never run a Cup car there. He's only got half a mile-and-a-half race under his belt in a Cup car. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. This, the cookie cutter mile-and-a-half, that's the bread and butter of the Cup Series. That's really where it takes all the pieces to run well there. It takes car, driver, team, crew to execute and have a good day there. So it'll be a good test. It'll be much like Darlington, I would imagine. So we'll see how Shane fares in the Cup race. Xfinity, I think Shane could easily run top 10. It's got characteristics of Kansas where he finished top 10. It's also, in a weird way, got characteristics of Darlington with the abrasive surface. So, he's got some things going in his favor, and I'm hoping for a good top 10 day there. Other than that, that's all I really have. Sorry if I don't seem too enthusiastic. I was pretty disappointed weekend, but you know what? That you'll have that in big time stock car racing. But there'll be many more races to come, obviously, for Shane. And other than that, that's all I got. We'll see you after Las Vegas, and we'll get to see the old Wendy's spicy chicken mobile out there. He's got some flames on his cars this weekend, so I think flames means he's going to go fast. So that'll be fun. I'll see you guys next week after Vegas.